Well, we'll see how this goes. It's just starting to get dark. Does that help any? Okay, great. Yeah, I'm missing something here. Gotta make a little pad for behind the camera. But if I ain't got the pad in the camera, then you're gonna see the top of my head all night. Custom job right there, buddy. Well, I come up with another story. That light's a little weird. How about that light? Is that light better? That's a little better for me. Well, I got a nice story, but I kind of pressure to tell it. It's been a long time since I've even thought about it. But since I told you the other story, I figured you need another Snowmon story. Because the Snowmon never did anything stupid in his entire life. I've always done stuff in a brilliant manner. Like the time I was in Pennsylvania, I drove from Oakland, California to Pennsylvania, had to make a delivery, found the town I was supposed to deliver to. Now, I didn't know it, but there was an east and west to the street I had to deliver on. Well, I went to the east side of the street, and I was supposed to be on the west side. Yeah, things were a little different there, because the west side was an industrial section of the town, and the east side was a very nice upper class residential area. Well, it ended in a cul-de-sac, and the address was right there at the cul-de-sac. But at the time I was driving an Obita Kenworth. Let's see, this was I believe in 88. So this was in the olden days if you were born in the 90s. Yeah, that would be the olden days. But this truck was from the olden days because it was a 68 cab over Kenworth. You had to check the oil, pull the cab off, or drain the oil and put the oil back in. There was a spout to put the oil in, but there wasn't a dipstick. There was a dipstick, but you couldn't get to it unless you took the cab off. And there were no cab jacks then. You actually had to pull under a hoist, unbolt the cab, and lift the cab up, disconnect air lines, water lines, electrical lines, and actually pick the cab up to do anything on the engine. And this thing had terrible steering, man. It'd barely make a turn. I mean, if I hit a windy mountain road, after a few miles of it, my arms would be dragging the ground, sweat pouring off me. Good thing I was in shape then. And I got out, I got to this destination. I was in the wrong destination. Right address, wrong end of the road. So I have to turn around in a cul-de-sac. There's 3 houses on the cul-de-sac. Big houses. These are multi-million-dollar houses back in the 80s. They're big mansions, big golf course sized yards. Now one of them had absolutely manicured grass. And the other 2, they had pretty good lawns, but not quite like the one. So I started making my turn, and I can't turn. I have to jackknife the truck, run the truck back and forth, because the steering radius was not that good. And it was taking some time. Well, one of the guy come walking up, from between the houses, and he's like, hey, hold on, man. It's like 2:30 in the morning. What are you doing? I was, well, apparently I'm at the wrong address. I told him my address. He goes, oh, that's the other side of town. Okay, well, I'm really sorry, but I gotta get the truck turned around. It's an old truck. It's hard to turn, and I gotta work it around, get back out of here. He goes, why don't you just go across the lawn? And I go, well, if I go across the lawn, it's going to tear up the grass. He goes, look, I say go across the lawn, I don't care. And I go, are you sure? And he goes, yeah, don't worry about it. So, okay. And I start going across the lawn, and I get halfway into the lawn, and the truck starts to sink. I'm like, oh my God. So I catch a gear and I put my foot down. I'm throwing mud everywhere. It's mud and clay. I'm throwing it everywhere. The trailer's into it. I start making my turn. I look out the window. I see sprinkler heads coming up out of the ground. I see water gushing everywhere. I'm tearing up the sprinkler system. I'm digging big ass trenches in this yard. And I'm totally tearing it up, and when I go to make the turn, I'm making a canal. It's huge. The trailer is just digging in. And I'm powering through. It's like a monster truck rally going through the mud. Smoke's coming out my stack. The engine's screaming. And the guy is standing in the middle of the cul-de-sac with a big grin on his face. And I was like, oh man, I'm causing about $100,000 worth of damage to this guy's front yard, and I'm probably going to end up going to jail. So I finally barely get the truck out. I didn't get stuck, luckily. I get the truck out, I stop. There's steam coming out my radiator. My wheels are packed with clay mud. The yard is like a football field. It has just been ripped to shreds. It looked like a war zone. There was water going everywhere. It was like out of some kind of comedy movie, like Animal House or something. I destroyed that lawn. And I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, man. You told me to go through the yard, and I did, and I told you what would happen. It did. And he was smiling with a big grin on his face. He goes, don't worry about it, calm down, everything's okay. And I go, but your yard, it's all tore up. And with a big smile on his face, and he looks at me and he goes, my neighbor won't be back from vacation for another month. Go on your way, man. I was like, really? I thought it was his house he was telling me to go across the lawn. No, it wasn't his house. It was his neighbor's house, and apparently he didn't like his neighbor. Because when I went across that yard, it ripped it out. But it was some bigwig, because I did, about a couple weeks later, did hear it on the news that when the guy got off his vacation, got home, his whole front yard was tore up. And it made national news, at least on the radio, to whatever I was listening to. But that was just another experience of the Snowmon. Now, you might be thinking, why do you call yourself a Snowmon? Well, my name is Snow, and my brother's name was Snow, and my other brother was named Snow, and my other brother was named Snow, and they all went by Snowman. And they used to fight over it all the time. They would always argue with each other. It would get right down. Two of them actually got in a fist fight over it. Who was the snowman? So I'm not the snowman. I'm the snowmon. I avoided it all. But it's kind of sad they're not here no more. So, enjoy your evening. Hope you like the story.